why do we pick this issue as our first slide, as gun control is a pretty prevalent concern in our nation's society as it entails our Second Amendment rights. Gun violence has become an epidemic in the past few decades, as we have examples of multiple mass shootings in the U.S. And it relates to us as increased amount of school massacres in the United States, as we are high school students, and this occurs to students in the U.S. At the same age as us. So our second slide on gun control is what effect does this issue have on society? We found there's almost a 50-50 split amongst Americans, but there's slightly more people favoring gun control on the Democratic side. We've realized that this divides our nation because gun control is quite a heavy topic, and there's a lot of tension. And this tension between political groups can form interest groups such as the NRA and other gun control interest groups. Our third slide on gun control talks about its positive and negative effects. Just one of the major things that we saw is stricter gun control laws are going to protect us from mass shootings and the ability for mass shootings to occur more often. But then on the contrary, we're also going to have negative effects for those who favor looser restrictions, with those who want a recreational shooting are going to have to be forfeiting their weapons. Going off of the last slide, there is multiple viewpoints, not just only two, as there's multiple political groups that have multiple sides and opinion on gun control. But it promotes, I think the majority is one side promotes gun restrictions and background checks, whereas the other side is going to demand their Second Amendment rights as they promote to defend their homes and looser restrictions on gun control. One of the most profound things we found in our research on the topic of gun control is it actually affects high school students the most and students at universities, as in recent years mass shootings have occurred at universities and high schools, and this is why we've seen a recent surge in high school and university students taking action in gun control laws and marching on Washington, D.C. One of the things that we found is in the historical opinion of gun control is that over the nation's history, we've been favoring actually a Republican side of the favor of gun control as looser restrictions that we were able to defend our home with the Second Amendment right. But in this past decade, we found that recent school shootings and age limits have changed, and gun control is now in more of an effect. Lastly, in the introduction to gun control on the issue of large and small scale, we found it's very large scale as it affects the entire nation, as mass shootings are very prevalent, and it's a very sad fact, but we do have it a lot in the U.S., and it's something that we still face today if we don't have stricter gun laws. But in a 50-50 nation with Democrats and Republicans, there is always going to be a battle between gun control.
The first interest group I have is the NRA. The NRA has impacted the policy greatly, and they strongly support the right to bear arms. The NRA has its own political action committee called the PVF. The PVF was involved in 271 campaigns for the U.S. House and Senate, winning 85% of those races. The NRA endorses thousands of state legislative candidates and achieved 84% success. My next interest group is Americans for Responsible Solutions. Americans for Responsible Solutions encourages elected officials to find new, smarter solutions to prevent gun violence. They help protect responsible gun ownership by communicating directly with the constituents that elected them. Another interest group is Everytown for Gun Safety. Everytown for Gun Safety seeks to reduce gun violence. They conduct groundbreaking original research about gun violence and to develop evidence-based policies. They communicate this knowledge in the courts and court of public opinion to help the cause. My last interest group is Gun Owners of America. Gun Owners of America, also known as GOA, is a non-profit lobbying organization. They were formed to preserve and defend the Second Amendment rights. They strongly support the right to bear arms. They represent the view of gun owners when their rights are threatened.
In recent years, one of the main ordeals in the White House is the issue of gun control. As stated in Goodbye Bump Stocks, December of 2018, the Trump administration announced that the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives would be banning bump stocks nationally. Bump stocks are attachments to the stock of a semi-automatic assault rifle, essentially turning it into a fully automatic machine gun. Owners of bump stocks have a 90-day period to surrender or destroy their attachments, or they face severe penalties. Every day in Congress, the issue of gun control is debated in a constant battle between Democrats and Republicans. Over the recent months following the events in Parkland, Florida, Congress had been locked in a stalemate with the House and Senate separated. This January, the House had officially taken over by the Democrats. The Wall Street Journal stated as saying, Democrats say they intend to pass the most aggressive gun control legislation in decades. One of the most prominent ways gun control has made its mark on the judicial branch is the battle of the interpretation of the Second Amendment. An example of this is the District of Columbia versus Heller. D.C. passed the Firearms Control Regulation Act banning individual gun ownership in the district. Heller believed this violated his Second Amendment rights, and the Supreme Court favored 5-4 of Heller.
Well, to begin, our group had a very neutral stance on gun control, as we're quite naive to the subject at hand. We were very intrigued by our topic, so our group delved into the subject and researched it. As we progressed over these past few weeks, our research showed both sides of the argument, so we gained an unbiased opinion on our topic. As our research concludes, I believe I can speak for the group in that we are right back where we started. We are still neutral on the subject, but are more informed and can understand opposing viewpoints on gun control.